Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. As we are returning to the My Favorite LJN tournament, we are on round one, episode 18, or part 18. So, at this point, a little better than halfway. Nope. I'm at about 40 episodes, so I'm gonna say about 20 episodes in, we're gonna be about the halfway point. So, but this tournament is just shooting right on by. In years past, I've probably posted these videos once every 2 or 3 days. So being able to have this out on a daily basis is fantastic. And yeah, there are times I am going to incorporate other videos in between these episodes. So in the last week or so, I really haven't had anything else to talk about. I haven't been really making any other purchases, so I haven't had any new figures to review, new pickups to talk about. Now, some of the videos I've been wanting to make, like I've been talking about wanting to do like the horror compilations. I look back at the last video I made, and that darn thing's been up for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it has like 10 views. I'm like, wow. I realistically it has like 15 views, but some small tiny number. I am shocked because you would think that a video like that would be like several thousand after a few days. I am shocked at how poorly that video is done. And it's done so poorly that I'm like, you know what? I'm tempted to go in and actually delete that video from the channel because it's kind of like a black mark stain on the channel right now. But that's the type of videos I want to make, man. I want to have these type of horror related compilation videos, even if they're not my related videos. If sometimes it's not anything I could get monetized for or anything like that. And that's fine. Sometimes it's just about being able to show off other people's stuff so that, they can get more recognition for their work. That's why I give a lot of shout outs to different YouTubers and content creators or different customizers, or I call out different shops that I buy from. They may be doing just fine without me, but you know what? If I can throw out my 2 cents and get them a little bit more recognition, so be it. I have no qualms about helping out others where need be. So, and a video like that, again, it's just for fun. You're not trying to make profits or anything off of videos like that. So, I might want to go back to the Life You Lose videos. Those will always be enjoyable for me, and I haven't made one in probably weeks. Today is September 11th. Well, the day of filming this video is September 11th. It is Wednesday, and even though this video is probably going to hover 40 minutes, I do want to take some time out to kind of talk about today's, I don't want to say special, but it's kind of like where were you when JFK was shot type of deal. For our generation, where were you during the September 11th terrorist attacks type of deal? I remember it was like 8 a.m. and we're in Chicago, or I'm in Chicago. It's first period. I think I was in shop class. Which shop class? So it was sophomore year. I was 16. Yeah, it was drafting class. So sophomore year drafting, so that had to be drafting too. And my drafting teacher had the radio on, and we're just hearing the news of these attacks on the World Trade Center and stuff. And as we're moving on from class to class, and everybody's got the TV on, everybody's got the radio on, it's like, and what kind of was shocking, and it's really stupidity of some people. All these kids, I understand being scared, and especially if you know people who are from New York, or being scared for the families and being scared for the people who are actually trapped. But we start being crazy, like, oh, well, people are going to attack Lane Tech. Now, for those who don't know, Lane Tech is one of the largest high schools in Chicago. Freaking Lane Tech, their student body is probably larger than most towns or even some cities out there. Student body hovers around 45, maybe 5,000 students, so massive school. Lane Tech pretty much had like, I mean, yes, Lane Tech was an educational based high school. You got to test into the school and everything, but it wasn't just one of the best academic schools in the city of Chicago. It, I mean, they had like every single sport imaginable, and they were like city champions and regional champions, state champions in pretty much every sport you can imagine. So it just showed you how diverse and how dynamic our high school actually was. So to think that if a terrorist attack did happen in the city of Chicago, it wouldn't be unheard of to think that Lane Tech could be a possible target. But it was just insane to kind of think of hearing all these kids freak out that Lane Tech was going to be targeted next. I'm like, and yeah, later on when you realize that it wasn't just in New York that Washington was being targeted, that there was a plane down in Pennsylvania that was probably going for the White House. Yeah, it was freaking messed up scenario, and I think a lot of us that joined what we call post 9/11, a lot of us that joined the military after 9/11, I think a lot of us knew we were going to war at some point. And the whole thought that, yeah, man, I'm going to serve my country, bullshit. And it's sad, man. You watch these damn TikToks nowadays, and you kind of hear all these damn kids laughing and making cracks and jokes about being drafted, and like, oh, you can't draft me, like you want this mentality in the military and so forth. I'm like, man, you're making light and cracks and jokes about people that, not just, I'm not even talking military now. Now you're making people that suffered, that died due to terrorist attacks. You're making fun of, blood for oil and crap like that. You don't have to be a Bush fan. Realistically, our freaking country was attacked, and this was retaliation. If you just let it slide, who's to say that other countries or the same countries wouldn't attack again and again and again, and thousands and thousands more people would be killed? You retaliate, you show that, hey, we're a no-nonsense company, no-nonsense country, we got a no-nonsense president. Yeah, you know what? You're setting the mold that, hey, you attack us, we're going to get you tenfold type of deal. There were a lot of people I was in JROTC with, and they gave up or they quit JROTC because right after the whole Iraq War and Afghan War started up, and they're the type of kids that were walking around the school like, hey, blood, no blood for oil type of stuff, crap like that. I'm like. And I kind of see these TikToks and YouTube videos where kids are like going around and they're like spraying canned food on paintings and stop oil and stuff like that. I'm like, I kind of feel like the kids back in high school, for me, I feel like if they were today's kids, if I were born 15, 20 years later, I feel like those would be the kind of kids that I went to school with. Insane. Oh, shoot, man. I kind of didn't realize at the time. I mean, yes, I did know today was September 11th, but I wasn't really thinking about that when I came down here to make the video. So I wasn't really thinking about talking about this prior to doing any of the video, but with already 10 minutes in, I don't know if I need to do like a 3 matchup video or 4, if I still want to do my regular 4 matchups, because I feel like now this video is going to hover around 50 minutes. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. I'm still going to do the 4 matchup video, but it's kind of a remembrance. I mean, I don't want to say special as in positive, but special in the fact that we'll never forget type of deal. I was talking to my brother probably about a week or so ago, and he was kind of like asking me about military service, right? And why you join the military, and you give some of the reasons why. And I just said it earlier. You join because you want to serve the country, right? You want to be patriotic. That's obviously very important for a lot of people, but I feel like if that's your only reason, that you're cheating yourself or you're BSing yourself. It's a job just like any other. It's going to pay the bills. It's going to help you support your family. So, financial aspect is fantastic. Okay, free medical, life insurance is fantastic. You think these Gerber and other life insurance, you're paying like what, $50 a month, $30 a month. You're getting like $50,000 life insurance. Where with the military, you're paying like $30 a month, and you're getting like $500,000. So, I mean, there are positives there. You do get stipend, you get housing allowances and living and housing allowances and food allowances and whatnot. So you get clothing allowances every year. So there's plenty of positives to join the military outside of patriotism. But yeah, I kind of mentioned, some of the things like, it's a job, it pays the bills. College is obviously a huge thing. And we're kind of naming off some of the things. And I didn't talk about patriotism, or I didn't mention serving my country or whatnot. And he kind of laughed at me because I didn't bring that up. And he laughed at me because anytime he talks to a soldier nowadays, nobody ever says anything about that. I joined the military to serve my country type of deal. I'm like, it's important. It is. And I feel like anyone that wears the uniform is going to have that sense of pride. But it can't be the be-all, end-all. There has to be more to it than just that. You still have to support yourself and your family, and you have to earn a living, right? So there has to be more to it than just that. Otherwise, you'd basically be serving for free, or I don't know, going like a soup kitchen. You donating your time, type of deal. And you can't donate your time for free, especially when the opportunity presents itself where you might get killed. So, all right, guys. Enough of that depression. Wow. Let's get into the main focus of today's video. Shoot. I kind of feel like I should make this a one-off and make its own unique video, but nope. I'm fixated on making this my tournament video, so let's get started. Today's video, guys, is going to feature Green Macho Man. Green Macho Man. I'm trying to think. What Green Macho Man do I have? Green Macho Man. I'm thinking. Off the top of my head, I don't know which figure that is. It's obviously it's a custom, but I just don't know which one. So I'm gonna pause to pull the figures. I'm gonna have to do some searching on that one. So Green Macho Man versus Razor Ramon. Next matchup is going to feature Papa Shango Junkyard Dog version as he squares off against Jimmy Hart Black Heart Foundation variant or custom. This one is going to feature Junkyard Dog as he squares off against the Iron Sheik. And last matchup is going to feature Vince McMahon as he does battle against Papa Shango. Multiple pop. I love how these videos keep having like the same figures repetitiously. Papa Shango versus Vince McMahon. And that Papa Shango comes from the Raider Nation. So like in my videos, I get videos where I have multiple Andre the Giants. I get videos where I have multiple Roddy Pipers, multiple Bruce Beefcakes, multiple Papa Shango. That's like, how does that happen? That's crazy. But names have been pulled, so let's go ahead and get those figures pulled. I will be back momentarily. Alright, folks. So, First matchup I said was going to be a green Macho Man, and I did figure out which Macho Man that was as he squares off against Razor Ramon. So we will look at Razor Ramon first. When I got this figure in, I understood the need for this particular pose because Razor Ramon, he does kind of walk around the room, hands up like that. So the pose makes sense. Just like the fighting pose for the Series 2 Hasbro Hulk Hogan with the whole bear hug makes sense. Because, you know what, that's what Hulk Hogan does. He gets in the ring and he basically pumps up, right? But it's not a playable figure. It's actually a pretty terrible play. That Hogan figure was horrible. And I kind of talk about this a million times in the past. As terrible as the Hulk Hogan Series 2 Hasbro figure is, nobody puts that figure on their top 10 list of worst Hasbro figures ever. Because it's a beautiful looking displayable figure. And yeah, when I was young, and let's say my brother was playing with the Series 1 Hogan, I had no choice. Yeah, I would use the Series 2. Or I think if the Series 1 ever had like broken figures, or wonder if it ever had like a broken arm or something, maybe then I would have no choice but to use the Series 2, but that figure was never enjoyable, right? Razor Ramon, I talk about the simplicity of a lot of the figures, where they're kind of like very generic. Yes, the figure is Razor Ramon-esque face-wise. I felt like his hair was really solid. I would have liked to, kind of looking at the figure, his head is kind of actually small. I don't know if I've ever mentioned his head being small before. I've always said I really liked the head sculpt because I thought his hair was among the best. But head sculpt the head itself is really small, and I've never been a fan of the dirt on the chest. And yes, that is exactly what it is. It is dirt. No, Matthew, it is not dirt. It is hair. It is chest hair. Wrong. That is dirt. That is as clear as day. Me going outside, rubbing my hand in some freaking mud and rubbing on that. That's what that is. That is not chest hair. I can go get me a pen or a black Sharpie marker, put some dots on the figure, dot, 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 bam. That is more chest hair than this. I don't want to ever hate on the artistic skills of an amazing artist, but that is something I just I will never get behind. In fact, in the original photos, I think the picture actually depicts actual solid chest hair. Like, it's actually thick. But when I got the figure in, I'm like, no, come on. That's... Can I despise... I don't want to say despise. I like the figure. It's fine. But can I knock on a figure as much because it doesn't have the required chest hair? I mean, it was a chest hair necessary. If this was a bare chest figure and that was never part of the design, I probably would never have said anything about it. In all honesty, yeah, he had chest hair. Got it. Okay. I probably would not have had one remark about it. But the fact that it was put on there and this is what you got, that's disappointing. Outside of that, the razor and the razor blades on the trunks. Trunks look solid. The boots, even the boots, man, look at that. I don't understand these figures. If up here, if like the trunks were like were chipping or something, I could look at the figure and say, okay, you know what? Here, the metal piece right here is cutting into the trunks and it's causing paint bleed or paint loss. It's causing the chips. But there's no chipping on the trunks. But there's chipping on the boots where there's nothing. And every time I pick up a figure from Ryan Treasures, I keep seeing all this different areas of paint loss on all these different figures, and I don't get it. Why is it that certain, like The Undertaker, Like all that paint loss in his hand, nothing goes in his hand. Where's that paint loss coming from? It's infuriating every time I see this. And it's small, but you know what? When you're paying $125, $150 for these figures, you want to keep them as pristine as possible. And considering that these don't move from the shelf, why is that happening? Macho Man. Is this the best Macho Man figure that I own? It is not. In fact, it is... I don't even know where I even got this from. I want to say Stanger GQ, because I got a lot of really awesome customs and stuff from him. I mean, it's a fine figure. I don't think I overpaid on this. You know, it's your run-of-the-mill customizer. I don't think this is someone that's like your over-the-top incredible artist. The cloth, I mean, this... I think they tried to glue this down at some point because it was a little bit sticky, but the shirt is really your overall design of this figure. I don't know. I've already said before, I'm not a fan of the Macho Man figure. It's a very simple figure. Among LJN originals, Macho Man is a mid-level figure at best. Out of, let's say, 70, 80 figures, he comes in about number 40 or so among the best figures. 40, 45, 50, somewhere around there. It's an average figure. It's not a good figure. It's just average. The Macho King on the back, I mean, does any of that... I'm not excited about either of these figures, to be honest. So which one do I covet more? I'm going to choose Razor Ramon just because I've got enough Macho Mans, but it's among the exclusives from Random Treasures. Is this a top 10? One of my least favorites among the top 10? Yeah, I'd have to say yes. Is he a top 5 worst? No, but definitely top 10. Where? I don't know, man. Razor Ramon is just one of those figures that just, it's one of those figures where you want to enjoy the figure, you want to love it, but you just can't because there's just so many deficiencies that you find wrong with the figure. This one is going to feature the Papa Shango Junkyard Dog versus Jimmy Hart Black Heart Foundation. This is a good matchup because it features two really good customs. And we will start with Jimmy Hart. So, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I talked about my friend Buddy Daly, Stinger GQ on eBay. I bought a million things from him, and among his figures were the Heart Foundation with blue pants and the black stripes down the side, and also included manager Jimmy Hart. Now, I don't know if I was on my phone, I was probably on the computer, and I tried to put in a last minute bid, and the damn computer froze, and I ended up losing. And those three figures sold for like $123, and I was pissed. Because $123, I mean, you can't get a beat up original Bret Hart for $123, right? So to get a really good custom figure for $123 plus a Jim Neidhart plus a Jimmy Hart figure for I was angry. So eventually I took a couple of additional, man, I don't know if it was 2021 or 2022, but at one point, I was buying up the world of Heart Foundation figures. And I gotta stop saying that because I know I'm pissing people off because it's like, why are you screwing other... I'm sorry, I'm a collector, and I have uses for them. But as a collector, yeah, man, I was buying up all these figures, and yeah, I send out to friends and customize. And normally they're like beat up figures, they're destroyed figures, and I don't want to say destroyed, but a lot of times someone's gonna sit there, they're gonna cut off the heads and bodies and stuff. I'm like, even the Heart Foundation, I'm like, why would you ever destroy Heart Foundation figures? Makes no sense. They're valuable figures. But I would take the figures, I would send them out to my friends to be customized. And so I sent them, I sent a bunch of figures, which included the Heart Foundation and manager Jimmy Hart. And I got that specific customization. And Eric, he did a good job on the figures. I was very pleased with what I got in return. Unfortunately, I haven't felt that good since probably around that time. Because, well, you guys have seen all the figures I've gotten in my last batch. Is this one of my favorite Jimmy Hart figures? I love the colors and design, so yeah, I'd say this would be. But Papa Shango. I've got 3 different variations of Papa Shango. And even though there's a lot of flaws to this figure, like a ton. Like when you look at this figure, it's sticky in certain areas, right? You've got like where you may have had a cloth or something and you kind of peeled it off and it stuck to the stickiness. Or if you look at the arm, where you could see where it was cut off and then maybe glued back on or something. So even though you might think, okay, that's really poorly done, to an extent, I kind of like that design. And I like it because when you kind of look at it, like I said, it looks like it's kind of like a zombie. Like the arm has been sewn back on, like a Frankenstein, right? So when I look at this figure, it kind of reminds me of like a Halloween base figure. So this isn't just a wrestling figure to me. This is also a horror-based figure as well. So it's not just Papa Shango. It's also a kind of zombie-esque figure. So when I look at the arms, and I kind of look at it as being sewn back on, I think that would look super cool. It just makes the figure pop really awesome. And the tattoos, I mean, they really did go all out. The head looks freaking fantastic. At first, I thought they may have, like, gone over, like, maybe, like, shaved off the hair of Junkyard Dog or something. But then I kind of see around the neck area where it looks like the head was maybe replaced, right? So maybe they did replace Papa Shango's head on this figure. A lot of time, I don't know if they use lacquer or what kind of thing is, what kind of, because I see this a lot of the time on like a lot of the Kenny Lester figures, or the sort of shininess or glossiness of the figure. I don't know. Is it painted the best in the world? It's not. Like, it just, again, it's just painted on the chest. It's not, you can't sit there and feel underneath the straps as if it were built on or anything. I think that would have made this particular figure a little bit more impressive. But the built-in walking stick or yeah, man, that's not even removable. Yeah, so when you look at the hand, that's completely built in there. That's a non-removable piece. I'm trying to wiggle this arm a little bit. Yeah, you can wiggle this arm. You can see how loose it is. I mentioned all these deficiencies, but here's the thing. I bring up all of these abnormalities, and even with deficiency after deficiency after deficiency, I still sit here and I still argue that this might be one of my top 50 best custom figures. Putting anything in a Junkyard Dog pose, like the Jim Neidhart that I have, definitely helps. Junkyard Dog may not have the best grip of a playable figure, but he's still got a good fighting pose. The overall look, skin tone wise, looks beautiful. Obviously, Junkyard Dog was a lot darker. And you got 2 different figures here. So, I don't know, man. To me, this isn't even a question. This is a very simple decision. Papa Shango, all day, every day. In my opinion, this is a round 5 figure. He could be eliminated round 2, round 3. I don't know, but fantastic figure. I still argue round 5. We'll see how far this one actually goes. And guys, I know I'm not spending as much time on these as I probably normally would, but going 15 minutes before we even begin this tournament, I'm trying to speed up as quickly as I can so we're not in a 50-minute video. Alright, so this one's actually a good matchup because it's not as cut and dry, and it's not just this type of battle either. The Iron Sheik original squares off against Junkyard Dog original. So, Iron Sheik, I still classify the Iron Sheik as being one of the top 10, most likely top 5 worst LJN figures ever made. And for the longest time, I've been giving this so much crap for being a bad figure. I think when I did my least favorite LJN tournament, and I really started looking the figure over, and really started to appreciate the figure more so than I did before. Maybe because of the Papa Shango figure that I have with this pose. Maybe because of the Steve Austin figure that I have in this pose, right? So there are multiple figures that I have using an Iron Sheik body. And those are spectacular figures. Iron Sheik really isn't a bad figure. I mean, it looks just like him. It's a good looking figure. I love the elf shoes. I love the detail and color of the pants. Waist down, fantastic. Upper body, everything looks good. I mean, it's just really, it all boils down to arms, right? And he's got like this weird camel bicep. You know how camels have like multiple humps sometimes, right? Sometimes they got one hump, sometimes they got like 2 humps, what have you. And that's kind of like what it looks like. It looks like a freaking camel hump right here. So it's very freaking weird. So, and yeah, I get it. That's not a bicep. That's his freaking shoulder. But the way that the bicep is sitting right next to the shoulder, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like he has 2 freaking biceps. I'm not stupid. I know what a shoulder is. I know some jokers are going to be like, hey, idiot. That's not... I know. Trust me, I got this. But look, seriously, man. If you've never actually really paid attention to it because you really didn't care, it's a freaking camel. It really is a fine figure, man. It's not as bad. Like I've said, if I were a kid, I would get a lot of use out of it. If I were an adult and I was locked in a prison cell for the rest of my life, and you threw a bunch of figures at me and be like, hey, this is going to be your source of entertainment for the rest of your life, I would make use out of it. And depending on the amount of figures I had and what figure... Now, if I had the entire LJN collection, originals only, this would probably be one of the least used figures ever. And if I did use him, it would be like a squash match. Like, this would be figures like Iron Sheik and Jesse Ventura and Bob Orton and Jake Roberts. To me, they would all be utilized. Maybe even Don Morocco. They would all be utilized as your basic jobber. They would still be their normal character. They would still be Iron Sheik, but like I would never have any kind of run or anything with this guy because this is just an unfun figure. And a lot of these figures, like your WCW Galoob Ron Simmons, when I say they're nothing more than a elbow drop, because pretty much any figurehead can do an elbow drop. I mean, can you really use that as an attribute, right? And then when you get to Junkyard Dog, in the early stages of my collecting LJNs, back when I only had 10 figures, 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever, Junkyard Dog was probably like my number 5 favorite LJN figure. Seeing guys like Nikolai Volkov at 4, Junkyard Dog at 5 made sense. Then obviously, as I look at the LJN collection as a complete, yeah, they're out of the top 10. I have to put them in the top 20. Junkyard Dog is another one of those characters, another of those figures I'd probably use as a jobber, but more of a useful jobber, someone that would exact damage, but not exactly something that I would utilize as like as Intercontinental Champion or Tag Team Champion. Not someone I would want to use for play on a consistent basis, right? You want to crown someone like a Hulk Hogan as a heavyweight champion because you want to utilize Hulk Hogan as a playable figure as much as you can because it's a great figure. Junkyard Dog just isn't all that. You look at figures like Jimmy Garver and WCW Galoobs. It's a fine figure. Ric Flair from Galoob, it's a fine figure. Average. But the way that it's kind of slouched over, arms spread apart, it kind of hurts. But it also kind of helps a little bit. Grip. That's it. The worst thing about this figure is grip. Playability is fine. Unlike someone like Ric Flair from Galoob, the arms are actually high enough to do the perfect body slam and punches and clotheslines and stuff that you want to do from a playable action figure standpoint. It's just the grip of the figure, the way that he's slouched, it's so awkward, and it takes away the enjoyment. Is he still a fun, useful figure? Absolutely. Is he the most pristine that he should be based on this? I can't say that he is. If we weren't already hovering around 40 minutes, I'd spend a whole lot more time on this matchup than I'm going to give it credit, but I think it's a very simple choice. Junkyard Dog has to defeat Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik, I know, isn't going to go far in this tournament. Junkyard Dog can at least go multiple rounds. We're not talking 2 rounds and out. We're talking 4 rounds, 5 rounds even, with the right competition. So, alright, so the last matchup is going to feature Vince McMahon, original, as he squares off against yet another Papa Shango. And once again, we will start with Papa Shango. And this is what I'm talking about from Kenny Lester. From Justin, who runs the Raider Nation. Again, he's the guy I buy all the Raider Nation figures from. Kenny Lester is the artist. In the early going, I used to love all of the Kenny Lester figures. And I tried to pick up everything that he had to offer. But after a while, like, I still enjoy his figures. Like Justin, I had been reaching out to him for like over a year. Like, hey man, are you going to be coming out with any new customs? So one day when he finally did reach out to me, like, hey man, I'm going to post some new figures. And I saw this. I'm like, no. I would have felt like an asshole if I didn't buy it. It's like, I want to say hounding, but for lack of a better term, let's say I've been hounding him for a year about new figures, right? And the time he comes out with the new figure, I don't buy it. What kind of jerk would I feel like if that didn't happen? It's already in an SD Jones fighting pose, body type, right? It's a slimmed down pose, but it's still SD Jones. So that makes it fantastic. I love the glossiness of figures when you look at Zeus and like Abdullah Butcher, etc. from Ram Treasures. So I love the fact that they did that with Papa Shango. But I also love the Papa Shango that I got from the other seller because of the sort of dark and dreary look to it. So the sort of zombie-esque look to it, right? So I covet that one more than any other of the Papa Shangos. And among the 3 of my Papa Shangos, this is probably my least favorite. And you look at the graphics, I mean, they're not bad. I mean, if this was just like some like random figure that he just created and just random tattoos, I would be okay with it. But making it a Papa Shango just makes it weird. And the top hat, like, if they shrunk the hat down to like about here, that would have been fine. But the hat is just super freaking big, like crazy freaking big. All right. Later on he didn't send it to me in the original shipment, but the next shipment I got from him, he ended up including a walking stick for Papa Shango, which again is just something when you sit it on the shelf, you gotta kind of like lean it on the floor or on the shelf and lean it against the stand, like so. You can't really hold it in the hand or anything. So I don't like accessories like that because they serve no purpose. I mean, it's nice to have an additional accessory, but what can you do with this? If we were just looking at SD Jones versus Vince McMahon, it's SD Jones all day, every day, right? And I've already said, in this tournament, SD Jones himself probably runs through 75+% of the figures that we're going to look at. But we've seen many figures that utilize an SD Jones body type that have already been eliminated because they're just simply not SD Jones. So we can't really look at them based on that fighting pose of SD Jones. We got to look at them as their own unique character. Papa Shango with this pose, this could go several rounds. When I talk about these figures, I'm not just looking at who is good enough to win this battle and deserves to move on to the next round. I'm also thinking about when they get into the next round, are they good enough to defeat the winners who are already in round 2 for the potential to move on to round 3? So which among the two figures give you the best opportunity for advancement to round 3? Honestly, I think either one of these figures are neck and neck, meaning you really couldn't go wrong with either one. Either one of these could defeat any of the current winners. Any of these could lose to any of the current winners. Among all of my Vince McMahon figures, I think the original figure is still probably my favorite. Now, the new Mark Hackenberg custom, the 1-of-1 prototype, based on color scheme, and I like that one probably the best. And Mark has a yellow jacket version I've been wanting forever, but I just been putting that one off because I've been trying to limit my purchases to figures I don't have in abundance. And I have so many Vince McMahon customs that, you know, when a figure like his yellow jacket Vince McMahon comes up for sale, I have to pass on it. And that sucks because, again, his figure is spectacular. And I see on auction right now that it's got a bid and it's going to sell. And I'm like, man, that hurts. I want that figure, but I have so many Vince McMahon figures. It's like, it's insane. When I think about bad figures, I despise the Ron Simmons glue because of the fused hand to the chest, right? He's got the fused hand and he's got the right arm up for the right elbow drop. I never really talk about figures like the Macho Man figure from original San Francisco Toymakers, where like his arms are fused to his side. Or I never complain really about the Rick Rude LJN figure where his arms were fused to his side. Or the LJN of Vince McMahon where his hand is fused to his chest. So many times you get these figures where their arms or either both arms or their hand are fused to their side or the chest or something. And it makes for a bad figure. But this is a good one. Even one-handed, this is still a very good one-handed playable figure. And you just kind of do like we did with Ron Simmons. You kind of like get him in close and pretend to like throw these small punches, right? And you get him up, look at that. With the right figure, he's got a perfect body slam pose. So, the pointer finger up, still don't like that. We'll never like that. Not on Macho Man, not on Jim Duggan, not on Vince McMahon, not on Eddie Figure, not on Sergeant Slaughter. Hate that. Because they break so easily. But, look, I'm going to go with Vince McMahon. I don't know if I say I regret buying this particular figure, but I think I would have benefited more greatly by saving those funds and using that money to buy something else, or use that money to pay bills. But then if I didn't have this, like if someone came into my house right now and said, "Hey, you paid I don't know how much I paid for this. Let's say I paid $85. Just throw out a number because I don't remember. Someone came to my house right now, gave me $200 cash, and we're to take this off my hands. I would probably sell it, maybe. Question mark. I don't know. But at the same time, I would miss it because it's part of my collection, and selling your collection is difficult. So I don't know. But yeah, Vince McMahon is going to defeat Papa Shango. And with that matchup, guys, with that matchup, lean forward on this chair. Kind of threw my back out the other day and trying to position my weight, my back in a way that's could alleviate the least amount of stress on it. I got some new figures in today, and I might do a review on those figures. And I've been talking about having about a week's worth of tournament videos because I haven't been buying anything and didn't get anything in. Well, I just recently got something in, and that just came in today. And you guys know, man, I film all these videos around the same time, and then I might take several days off before filming another video or set of videos. So when I was talking about not having anything come in or not buying anything, it's not like I was exaggerating. It's just that at the time of filming those videos, I didn't. We're almost at 50 minutes, dudes. My God, I'm done. That's it for this video. I'm sorry for the extra long video. Hopefully you guys still get an enjoyment on this video. I know it wasn't what you guys were expecting with the beginning 15 minutes, but with that being said, I always appreciate you guys tuning in to watch any and all my videos. You guys really are the best, and talk to you in the comments. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.